The Greek philosopher Archimedes once said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." Turns out he was a smart son of a bitch. In this video, we're going to test the mechanical advantage of a lever against our arch nemesis, Ligustrum sinense, also known as the Chinese privet. I'll show you when it works and when you're better off using a different mode of attack. We'll also talk about some other little tricks for battling these invasive plants. And at the end, I'll take you to a part of Magnolia Bend you've never seen before, so be sure to stick around for that. All right, here we go. Stay tuned. It's coming up. I ordered the Extractigator Junior in June of last year, I think it was, and it works really well on these little ones. Pulls them right up. Right? So I used it for a little bit, but then I realized I need a little bit more leverage. Weed pullers generally work by placing the fulcrum low to the ground at the base of the plant. This makes the length of bar between you and the fulcrum much longer than the length of bar between the fulcrum and the plant. And that longer distance means that any force you apply to your end will be amplified on the other side of the fulcrum, thus pulling the plant out of the ground. That's why I ended up ordering the larger Extractigator. More output force to remove larger plants. So we've been using both Extractigators for a couple of months now in combination with the cut stump method, doing different sections of the woods. But some privet are just too big for any weed puller to handle. So we found a good strategy is to either pull the privet or cut and poison them, but not both on the same outing. If you do both, you have to drag around too many tools as you traipse through the woods. So what we do is just go out and find a bunch of really big ones and cut and poison them. Then later we'll come back with the pullers and pull the smaller ones around them. It makes it a lot more efficient. We need to clear a trail here, so I want to get rid of all the privet along this edge. Let's go through a few examples and see where it works and where it doesn't. So these that are like, I don't know, about ½ an inch in diameter, this is really the prime size for this thing. See, it just pulls them right up. Now what I found is once you go all the way down, like we were all the way down, hold it up and try to get back down as low as you can, get another grip. You can just pull it right up. Look at that. Now see, ones like this is about 1 inch, 1.25 inches in diameter. You can pull it up with a larger Extractigator, but it's a lot of work, it's a lot of stress on the tool. So I think it's better to just leave it for now. We'll come back later and cut it off and poison it. And it's just a lot less work to do it that way. Let's go back to taking out some of these small ones. One thing I've noticed about doing this in winter is it's a lot easier because, well, number one, it ain't so hot. But number two, all the deciduous trees have dropped their leaves, so you can really kind of home in on the privet more without having to, you know, push through all the native foliage. So here's some more little 1/2 inch ones. These will come right up, should come right up, but you never know. Yeah, look at that. All right, see, now I've got it here. I mean, I could just pull it. Sometimes I do. But another thing you can do is come around on the bottom, like on the other side of it. This one's kind of angled wrong. Let me see. There you go. Now see, these gigantic ones like this, we're just gonna leave him for now. Like I said, you don't wanna try to struggle with the puller on these. This one's kinda, yeah, we might be able to get him. If I had to put a number on it, I would say up to about 3/4 of an inch is where you wanna go with this larger Extractigator. Obviously the smaller one's gonna pull smaller diameter ones. But it kind of depends on how many are growing up from the same place too, how big that root system is. Let's see if we can get him out. There's a baby blueberry here. He might get nuked with it, yeah. Sometimes if you come from the other side too, come from a different angle. Really need to get down lower. You see how the base of the Extractigator sinks so far down in the ground? That's because this is a real soft, sandy loam soil with a thick organic litter layer on top. I've tried stuff like a board and a cinder block and stuff under here, and it does work, but they break real quick because it's a pretty strong force being applied there. The guy that makes the Extractigator actually sells an attachment called the Bigfoot. It's a piece of aluminum about the size of a sheet of notebook paper that increases the footprint of the tool. I guess it works kind of like snowshoes by increasing the surface area of contact to prevent the tool from sinking, and it also provides some stability as you try to pull the plant out. I haven't tested it yet, but you can put it on without any tools, so let's attach it and see if it helps. It's got a helpful picture on here. Let's see. It looks like this needs to go on top. This goes on like that with the washer. Let's go back and try that one from a second ago. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. See, when the fulcrum sinks in the ground too much, you're losing a lot of your leverage because you hit the ground with this and you can't go down anymore. Sometimes you gotta just pull it up. Look at that big old root. Now that you can't really see it, but now that you got it up, see I'm grabbing down on the root. Just pull that sucker up. You got to get another grip. Boy, this one's got a hell of a root on it. There we go. Look at that sucker. Leverage is a hell of a thing. Sometimes you can get in here and pull the rest of the roots up too while it's exposed, because they'll be going in all directions. Cover that back up. Think we can get these too. Here's a trick I found. Instead of trying to push it up in there, put it on the ground. Put put your foot on it, kick it up in there, then close it, then pull it. Sometimes they break off, that's okay. We still got a good piece of that one's root. God, these things are such a pain in the ass. All these little 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch ones. This is what it's really made for right here. Like I said, you can pull some bigger ones up. I wouldn't try something like this. That's got to be 1 1/4 inches right there. You're gonna waste your time on that, probably break the tool. Cut that one off, save your energy. When you got acres and acres of this shit to pull out, you really gotta be strategic about it. You can't wear yourself out in here wasting energy. Be smart. Yeah. Wow, that Bigfoot is just, I mean, it's just a complete game changer. And it's aluminum, so it doesn't really add that much weight, which is good because this thing's already fairly heavy. Like Kiyomi's got to use the small one. I mean, she can use this one, but she'll get tired real fast. So you can see that these weed pullers work well on Chinese privet if you're a little discerning about which ones to attack. After using it for a while, I've kind of gotten an idea about which ones I should try to pull out and which ones I should poison. Although I must say, with that Bigfoot attachment, I can pull a lot bigger diameter ones out now because the fulcrum doesn't sink so far into the soft ground. Speaking of poisoning them, on a video a while back, I drilled a hole in the top of a glass jar and stuck a small paintbrush through it. We hauled that around and poisoned quite a few larger privet with the cut stump method, but the paintbrush kept falling out and eventually it broke. We also tried a toothbrush for a while, but it was pretty messy. I happened to listen to a presentation not too long ago by Ethan Tapper. He's a forester way up in Vermont. I'll post a link of it in the description. But he happened to mention this little device called the buckthorn blaster. It's just a little plastic bottle with a dab applicator on the end. It kind of reminds me of one of those glue dispensers you use in school. But anyway, I wanted something I could carry around more easily in the woods here because lugging around a big glass jar is kind of cumbersome. So I ordered one of these things and I've been testing it a bit. Let me show you how it works. Just take you some shears or some kind of saw or anything you can cut it off with. And, you know, I've seen people cut it right at the ground. To me, it makes it hard to find them again. And I heard that as long as you do it within about 4 feet or so, wherever 4 feet is on here, it'll get down to the stump. I'm not sure if that's true, but we're gonna test it and see. I've been doing them about, I don't know, 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet off the ground. That way I can see them and I don't trip over them. So we just cut them off. Go ahead and get this one too. If you'll cut it more flat, you know, your temptation is to cut it like this, perpendicular with the direction of the trunk. But when you do that, it's kind of hard, the liquid runs right off of it. It's kind of hard to keep the liquid on there, you know what I mean? So I realized if you cut it more like this, if you're able to, sometimes on the big ones you can't, cut it more parallel with the ground, right? Now you just take the bottle, take the cap off, dab around the cambium or whatever that is where the trunk is. This is glyphosate in here, by the way. Check out that other video if you want to see the ratio. I can't even remember right now what I did. There you go. This cap is real handy because it keeps it from spilling, even when it's in your pocket. You can just slide this in your pocket. Can't put a big old glass jar in your pocket like that. It'd be sloshing around anyway. You see what I mean about leaving these big ones and then coming back and poisoning them later? They're real easy to see once you clear out all that little crap. Oh, sorry, Mr. Blueberry. Got a bunch of those wild Elliott's blueberries back here. They're pretty good. They don't make a ton of berries back here, but probably put a little bit too much on there, but that's okay. A couple drops of this hitting the ground. The soil microbes will decompose it pretty quick. I think there was one more big one over here I wanted to poison. They say you're supposed to poison them within 20 minutes of cutting them. I try to do it even before that. More likely to suck that poison down in them. All right. I think we made pretty good progress on this edge. There's more to do, but there's always more to do. Something I've learned as I grapple with managing this property is the importance of identifying each and every plant. You probably already know this, but Google Lens is a really useful tool for figuring out what's what. It takes me a few tries sometimes, but I think I've identified most of the plants at this point. For example, here's a cool looking plant that I was thinking about transplanting up into the yard to use as an ornamental. But when I identified it, I realized that it's Ardisia crenata, commonly known as the coralberry. It's a member of the primrose family and it's native to Japan, India, and the Philippines. But it spreads aggressively and can outcompete native plants, so I've been killing it too when I see it. You know, I only learned what Chinese privet is when Kiyomi cut a few branches from one to make a ikebana flower arrangement with them. I was curious what it was, so I used Google Lens to identify it, and that's when I realized what we're actually dealing with here. Here's another example of that. This is Nandina domestica, usually called heavenly bamboo or sacred bamboo. It's native to Eastern Asia, including Japan. That's why Kiyomi was able to recognize it. The problem is that it's extremely poisonous to wildlife. It contains hydrogen cyanide, so when the birds and other wildlife eat its berries, they can get sick and die. And unfortunately, it's becoming an invasive here, so we need to take it out. Let's use the buckthorn blaster on it. You know, when I assembled this buckthorn blaster, I couldn't get the cap off the bottle of dye. It was like stuck. I don't know if it was a manufacturing defect or what. So I took a drill and drilled a hole in the top of the cap. That probably wasn't the best idea because it ended up getting everywhere and I had to transfer it into some glass jars. But I learned that the dye can be cleaned up fairly easily, so I guess that's good to know. All right, now that we took care of that, let me take you to the place I was talking about at the start of the video. There's something important we need to do there, but I haven't cut any trails in that direction yet, so the going's gonna be a bit rough. Bear with me. I really need to cut those trails. There's a ton of trash here too that Katrina washed up. But anyway, this is a creek that drains a large section of the land north of here, including the area where we were pulling those privet earlier. When I was a kid, we had to drive the tractor across it to get to the western fields to work them. They're cutting down some of the forest up there now to build a subdivision, and I'm hoping it doesn't screw up the way this land drains too much. But let me show you why we're here. This area has some of the largest privet I've encountered yet. This one's about 2 1/4, 2 1/2 inches in diameter. You need a track hoe to have a chance of pulling this out of the ground. So we're gonna cut them off and poison them. Kiyomi and I have been working hard over the fall and winter to kill these invasives, but there's much more to be done. The spring planting season's right around the corner though, and now we gotta start gearing up for that. Plus it'll be 90 degrees down here before you know it, and that's far too hot to be back here working in these woods. But I hope this has shown you how effective wood pullers can be on Chinese privet. I'll keep you updated as I learn more about managing this stretch of southern pine woods. Thanks for watching, and until next time, good luck out there.